The Chinese military has reportedly said that progress is now being made in a bid to implement the recent agreement to disengage from the friction points in the Eastern Ladakh border, but declined to comment whether or not the disengagement has been completed. The verification process post the disengagement is in the progress, and patrolling modalities are yet to be decided and finalized between the ground commanders, and talks are all set to continue as per the latest updates. All right, my colleague Ajay Jandial joins me live on the broadcast. Ajay, what is exactly the status of the comments that have been made officially by the Chinese side as far as the process that has been completed over the disengagement and also the decision for the patrolling at the LAC over multiple friction points is concerned?
It's a major development that in Ladakh, between Chinese PLA and the Indian Army, the friction point which basically started controversy or the tension among the two countries, that becomes now two of a friction point becomes the point where normalcy is going to be restored, and disengagement process on two locations, Depsang and Damchok, in the two locations, that is totally done. Temporary structures which was basically part of a discussion during the disengagement process, that both the forces, they will remove their temporary structure, that is done. Vehicles which was there in the camps which was made over there during this 4 years, that has been totally removed. Vehicles have been taken back by from both the sides, and now we have seen that yesterday there was a sweet exchange between the two forces, that also gives a sense of wiseness among the both, that in the coming time, the way basically this disengagement has started and normalcy is going to be restored, that is going to work in the coming time as well, that will help both the sides to definitely normalize the situation on other areas as well. According to sources, patrolling will start any time after yesterday's sweet exchange, and yes, there is one thing that only two locations were, on two locations, both the sides have agreed that there will be in Depsang and other is Damchok, where this patrolling will start and disengagement process will take place. That is what is done. But as far as the other areas are concerned, full disengagement on LAC and other part of the areas, that is not done, and even Chinese authorities, when they spoke to the media or agency, they did not agree that everywhere that this disengagement has taken place. So they say that disengagement process is going on, but definitely on two locations where that were decided, it is done, and on other areas it is not yet, and that's why they haven't confirmed it. But verification process by the ground commanders as well as with the help of drone, that is continuously taking place, and both the authorities, both the sides are sharing the drone footage and other things, whatever development is taking place, they are sharing it with the top bosses, so that it will reach where it need to be, where it need to be. So that's why these things are taking place.
All right, Ajay, thank you for sharing. In fact, the latest that you are confirming with your sources. And right now, Major General A.K. Sewaj, who's a defense expert, and Sanjeev Srivastav, who's an international affairs expert, joins me live on the broadcast. I thank you both for speaking to me live on the bulletin. And, at this point of time, Major General A.K. Sewaj, what exactly is the meaning of, after ending the 4.5 long wait at the LAC, for the patrolling to be starting and to begin with? In fact, this is most importantly the kind of agreement that has taken place militarily within the Indian and the Chinese armies, that are in fact setting an agenda to be cooperating at the friction points, and to begin with at the Depsang and Damchok. It is going to be very crucial of how exactly now, after the military standoff, things go with both the nations at the LAC.
Very correct. Simran, see, you have to see it that in April, May 2020, the Chinese came with 3 divisions in Eastern Ladakh. And basically what happened is, starting from area of Dapsang, then coming to Gogra Hot Spring, Galwan, north and south of Pangangso, and Damcho. Now, these were the friction points which took place, and the troops were on eyeball to eyeball, and the Chinese have blocked the traditional areas of patrolling. And we have also blocked Chinese patrolling, which was coming in Indian side, and both sides were deployed very close to each other, and temporary infrastructure was built up. Thereafter, a lot of talks has taken place between Corps Commander of almost 21, and more than 20 were diplomatic level talks took place. Up till September 22, we could resolve all the friction points, leaving aside Dapsang and Damchok. They were hard nut to crack. They were basically Gogra, Hot Spring, north and south of Pangangso, and Galwan. Some sort of, you can say, buffer zone was also created there. But that song, the Chinese were not very keen to go back, and they were not allowing our patrolling, which was the traditional patrol point PP10 to PP13. And same way in Damchok to Charding Nala. However, the talks were continuing, but what was the icebreaker was that the meeting which took place between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of BRICS summit at Kazan in Russia. And that was the game changer. And it was agreed that both the sides will disengage from there. And that's how the roadmap was prepared, that both the forces at Dapsang and Damchok have removed their temporary structure, and they have gone back to the designated places, and verification is by and large completed by on the basically seeing on ground as well as by UAE in satellite. And now the patrolling will start. The patrolling as far as Dapsang is concerned will be from up till patrol point 10, 11, 11 alpha, 12, 30, and same way up to Charding Nala. Now this is the process of basically disengagement. However, the de-escalation and de-induction still have to take place. The talks are going on between both the armies. The reason is simple. They came along with the 60,000 troops. They were more than 3 divisions. They have brought heavy armor, artillery, missile, rocket. They are in the battle zone only. It's only a disengagement which has taken place. And to counter that, we have a mirror image deployment. Within 1 year, within 1 month of their bringing the 3 division, we have also deployed more than 3 division. We have also got T-72 tank, T-90 tank, we have got M777 ultra light Harger, we have K9 Vajra. We are very well equipped. Now the point is that after doing this disengagement, possible talks will take place of how you de-escalate and de-induct these additional forces back to their peace location. The India will not have confidence in China, because China, what it says and what it does are two different things. Remember one thing, that on Chinese side, the terrain is plateau, and for them to come back to where they were earlier at LAC is far easier than us. So we have to factor all these issues before taking a final decision. But I can only say with certainty, it's a win-win situation for both, and also give an impression to the world that Indian diplomacy and Indian military has won over the Chinese, because the China side was always telling, leave aside what is happening on line of action control, let's our trade relation improve. Whereas we connected that until unless there is a peace and tranquility on line of action control, status quo April 2020 is not maintained, that there will be no business as usual. Since now the Chinese have agreed and disengagement has taken place, they have now gone back to a designated area. Our patrolling will start. One can say with a lot of conviction, yes, a status quo April 2020 by and large has been maintained, except the buffer zone which are there in north and south of Pangangso and Gogra, Hot Spring and Galwan. That possibly has to be also done away with in time to come. Similar.
Major General A.K. Sivach, in fact, there we have the details of the ongoing process of the patrolling, in fact, going further at the LAC. But when we talk about, how this entire bilateral talk between India and China, especially at the role that has been augmented by the BRICS, goes further, while we talk about the situation to have been impacted in the friction points of Dapsang and also Demchok, Mr. Srivastav, what are your expectations out of this entire exercise? How do you want to, in fact, point it down to the changes that one should expect after the friction points will be now patrolled soon, and the disengagement talks have happened between the two nations? There have been, in fact, agreements which have been signed in place at this moment.
Well, Simran, I think it's a very good and constructive development has taken place between two major powers, two neighbors, two ancient civilizations, two most populated countries in the world, India and China. And it is very good to see that wisdom has prevailed. And if this kind of wisdom continues prevailing in future too, then I do expect that future talks with regard to de-escalation and de-induction might take place, and also a larger discussion and larger negotiation for to demarcate this entire India-China border areas properly and clearly could also be initiated. And if that happens, and if that kind of a wisdom continues prevailing between the two sides, then I think it will not be only good for the two nations, India and China, but also it will send a very constructive and positive message all across the world that countries are willing and they are successfully taking steps, and they can successfully, in fact, take steps to resolve their differences through dialogue and diplomacy. So it will give a very constructive, positive message to the whole world as at this point of time when we have so much of strategic uncertainty, and there is a need for having a dialogue and diplomacy elsewhere in different other conflicting areas. If India and China could give this message through this kind of wisdom which they have shown in this at this point of time, then I think it will be very good. But we'll have to see that what kind of actions China takes in the future. But thus far, what the reports are suggesting, and Major Siwaj just mentioned, that this kind of disengagement process has been completed now, and the patrolling will start, and April 2020 status quo has now been restored. So I think this is a very constructive development, Simran, I would say again. But having said that, let me say that India, this new India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, will go ahead with any kind of further steps only after a very proper verification, and we will have a continuous surveillance on those areas, and we will see that what kind of actions are being taken by China, what we say, the concrete actions on the ground. So I think based on the concrete actions on the ground of by China, India will take further steps. Obviously, we have had several rounds of talks, 21 rounds of commander level talks, several rounds of WMCC foreign ministry level talks, and India has never shied away from engaging with China, talking with China. But as far as the actions are concerned, we had said to them very clearly from day one that till the time you restore this status quo of April 2020, India-China relationship will not be normal. So now when China has taken concrete actions on the ground in Depsong and Depsong areas too, and earlier they had disengaged in other areas like Galwan, Pairong Tso, Gogran, Hot Spring. So now this April 2020 status quo largely has been restored, but this is not just end, but this is the beginning of a long process of greater understanding and cooperation. And as I said, that if it is possible, if both the countries could initiate a dialogue to clearly and properly demarcate the India-China border areas, then I think we will have a more a greater friendship and a partnership between the two neighbors, to India and China. And if that happens, that will be very good, as I said, not only for the people of both the nations, but also it will give a very good message to the whole world.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.